Okay, mosquito. Get out of here, bro. So this is not a yoga class video that you're used to on our channel. Today we're going to be focusing specifically on how to increase the end range motion in your hips. Like most of the videos on our channel, this will be a follow-along video, so I'd like you to do it with me as we go. Today's class, all you will need is a blanket and then a couple of blocks or even books if you don't have blocks, just so that you can prop yourself up. I'll guide you as we go. And when you're ready to begin, let's start in a tabletop position. Before we get into specific mobility work of every joint, we first do a joint sort of warm-up where we're exploring the end range motion of each joint, and that's called CARs. It stands for Controlled Articular Rotations. So we always want to start with CARs first before we go into the mobility exercises. So if you've already watched the hip flexion video, then you're familiar with hip CARs in a tabletop position. And if you're not, if this is the first hip mobility video you've come across with me, then join along here for some CARs. You can also do these standing up, but for the simplicity of this video and for just keeping everything down on the ground, we'll do it in a tabletop. So set yourself up in your tabletop so you feel nice and stable. Wrists are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. And then we're going to start with our right leg. So begin to bring your right leg up towards your right armpit. And then without moving anything else in the body, you're only going to move your right leg out to the side as much as you can. Try to get that right knee as high to the ceiling as you can without collapsing or shifting or twisting with the spine. Continue to bring the right knee straight back towards the back of the room. And now your right foot is pointing up towards the sky. And then lift that right knee as high as you can, but don't come into a back bend. So keep the core engaged. Lower the right knee back down. Let it hover for a moment, and then reverse that circle back out. So the knee comes back, over to the right, all the way forward, and back down. Rest in that tabletop. And let's do one more time. Right leg, lift it up, bring it around that big circle. So we're exploring this end range of the ball and socket joint of the hip. Right knee comes back down. And last rotation, bring the right knee back towards the back of the room, all the way over to the right. Up and around and back down. Great job. Left leg. Left leg comes forward and then begin to bring it all the way around. So move nice and slowly so that you can really focus on making sure that nothing else is moving in the body except your left leg. So try to reduce the back bend, reduce any twisting. Keep the arms straight. And that left knee comes all the way back. Let it hover. And one more time, bring that left knee forward, all the way around. So we're basically just gliding along the rim of the socket with the ball of the hip. And reverse it back. Last one, let's close out this rotation. Make it good. All the way forward and down. Great job. So now we're going to grab those blocks or the blanket if you have it. And the blocks are going to go about in the middle of the mat on the highest level. And then the blanket is just going to come towards the back and the left side. So you're going to be placing your back left knee on the blanket, and then the right leg is going to come forward into a half splits position. So here in half splits, usually we have you, if you were attending our yoga class, you know that we lengthen the spine and then we come forward over the leg. But in this case, we're working specifically on the hip joint. So we don't want to focus so much on the back. So instead, we'd actually like to keep the back as straight as we can, which is why we have these blocks so that we can stay with our spine nice and straight. So now I'd like you to have your left knee underneath the left hip. So I don't want you to be too far forward where you're stretching both your right and your left hip. We're only focusing on the right hip first. Have a little micro bend in the right knee because you have a lot of nerves that come down the back sides of both of your knees. So we don't want to be extending and locking the knee out and then coming into mobility drills. We want to have the knee slightly bent so that we're really focused and we can really feel more into the right hamstring. So lengthen the spine. And then if you can, add a little bit of anterior pelvic tilt. So usually I would say to tuck your tailbone under, but instead we actually want to tuck the tailbone back. So you can visualize that your pelvis is sort of like a bowl. And right now I want you to tip the pelvis forward so that if there was something inside the bowl, you're almost pouring it forward out of the bowl. So by doing that, that also increases the stretch in the right hamstring. So it might seem like I'm talking a lot here in this position, but that's intentional. Before we actually move into the mobility exercises, it's really important to spend the first 2 minutes in your natural, comfortable end range before you start to move into the mobility work. And now we've been here for about 2 minutes, which is intentional as we come into these mobility drills. It's important to spend the first 2 minutes in your natural end range that's comfortable before you start doing the mobility exercises so that it gives a chance for the joint to recognize and see where that natural end range is first before we start increasing and putting a little bit of pressure on it. So now we're going to begin the mobility exercises, and for this it's called PAILS rails. PAILS stands for progressive angular isometric loading, and rails is regressive angular isometric loading. So it's progressive and regressive. So now before we start, I'd like you to engage everything in the body. So engage the core, engage the muscles in the spine, maybe the glutes, maybe the hamstrings, maybe even the shoulders, the chest. Fill up the lungs, and then start to drive your right ankle down into the ground and back. So almost like you're trying to close the gap between the legs. So drive the right leg down, give it 50% effort. 75% effort. 90% effort. And now give it 100% effort. You're really driving that right ankle down into the ground as much as you can, almost like you're trying to carve out a chunk out of your mat or out of the floor. So keep the spine nice and long. Keep everything engaged. Push, push, push. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now immediately reverse it and engage the regressive muscles. So engage your quads, engage your calf, and start to try to lift that right leg up. It's probably not going to lift. Hopefully it doesn't lift. If it does lift, then you know that you need to come a little bit more forward next time. But lift, lift, lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great. Now slowly come forward, maybe just a couple of inches with the hands as you make your way into this new end range of the right hip. Then we're going to immediately start with the second round. So start to drive your right ankle down into the ground. Have a little micro bend in the right knee to protect the nerves in the back of the knee. Spine is nice and long. 75% effort, driving the foot down into the ground. 90% effort. And 100% effort. Give it all you got. Push, push, push. You might even close the eyes. Maybe you start to shake or breathe deep. It's all good. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now opposite. Start to engage the muscles on the top side of the right leg. Lift, lift, lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Start to bend the right knee. Bring the right leg back. You can move the blocks off to the side. Tabletop. Take a couple circles with the hips. As you begin to bring back the synovial fluid into the hip joint. It's going to feel a little weird. You might feel all of a sudden very old. It's all normal. Great, and let's move on to the left leg. So bring both your blocks forward again. Maybe move your blanket over to the right so you can have it underneath your right knee. Left leg comes forward. So again, set yourself up here. Sit nice and tall. Right knee is underneath the right hip mostly. Keep a bend in the left knee. Left toes point up towards the sky. And again with that anterior pelvic tilt, as if you're pouring something out of the front side of the hips. So we're here for about 1 more minute until we begin our PAILS rails. So something really important to mention here is if you're here in this natural end range where you haven't even started stretching yet, but you're just in the end range, and if you already feel pain in the left hip flexor, in the left psoas, in the left quad, basically if you feel any sensations of pain just as you're resting here before you've even started, then it's a really good idea to not be doing these really deep mobility drills. Instead, you should go check out a professional, go and see a structural integration therapist or even physical therapist, and go get your joints looked at. So we never want to be fighting through pain when we're doing these mobility exercises. That's really not the point. If you have sensations of pain in the joints, then it's something that you need to get looked at before you are doing these really deep end range exercises. So hopefully you're pain-free and you can continue on with me here. So now we're coming to the end of this 2-minute mark. Great job. And last little push of this exercise and then you're all done. So before we begin with PAILS rails, again, let's start to engage everything in the body. Maybe you could even grip the block, engage the muscles in the arms, nice and tall, engage the core. Take a deep breath, feel the engagement of the ribs, of the spine, a little micro bend in the left knee, and then begin to drive the left foot down into the ground. 50% effort. 75% effort. 90%. And 100% effort. Give it all you got. Push that left heel into the ground. Try to swing that leg back towards the right leg. You might start to shake. Just breathe. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Immediately lift regressive tissues. Right leg reaches up towards the sky. Pull, pull, pull. Engage the left quad, the left shin. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Maybe you can come into a new end range. Maybe you can't. It's also okay to stay exactly as you are, but perhaps you can walk the blocks forward just an inch or two. Still, the spine is nice and long. Add in that anterior pelvic tilt and begin to irradiate all the muscles. So again, engage everything. The hands, the arms, the shoulders, the core, and then start to drive your left ankle into the ground. down and back. 75% effort, 90% effort, and 100% effort. Give it all you got. Last push. Down, down, down. Last 10, 9, 8. Keep that little bend in the left knee. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And immediately reverse it. Lift that left leg up. Engage the left quad. Lift, lift, lift. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Gently bring the left leg back in. Blocks off to the sides. Come into that tabletop again. And take some circles with the hips. So again, it's very normal to feel like your joints are super sore or very uncomfortable. This is just part of this deep mobility work. So it's hopefully, probably you're going to be a little bit sore tomorrow, maybe even the next day. It's all normal, it's all expected. And I do recommend that you do your CARs every day. So there's nothing wrong. Actually, it's really great to do a full joint CARs routine every day. And we'll be releasing a video here on that as well. But with this specific mobility exercises we're doing with PAILS rails, it's best to do 2 or 3 rounds of PAILS rails on a specific joint and then give it a rest. Wait 2 or 3 days until you come and do it again. So these deep mobility exercises are not meant to be a daily exercise thing. So hopefully you're working hard enough to recognize that the next day your joint is going to be pretty sore. So take some breaks in between, allow your body to adapt and readjust, and then over time you'll start to notice a little bit more flexibility and mobility in the joints. Thank you so much for joining me today, for trying out this class, this exercise. And if this has really helped you in your practice, please share it with some friends in your life that you think could also benefit. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Lots of love and gratitude. Namaste.